All right, hello everybody, and I know it's been a while, but welcome back to the train station. As always, I am your host, A Train, and with me once again is good old Darrell Coleman.
Uh,
And today we have a lot to talk about because there's some crap that is going on within the college football world, and we're going to talk about it. It's really just the playoff committee, and we're gonna kind of dive into the playoff committee and what I feel is wrong with it. And I kind of feel like we should bring the BCS back.
BCS, not really. I think they just need to expand the college football playoff.
Which yes, we can also get to. So, um, the BCS system was put into place all the way up until 2014 when the inaugural college football playoff committee. It's a group of 13 guys of ADs and all that who get together and try to decide who the best four teams in college football are. The first year they were kind of accurate by getting at the first couple of years they were pretty accurate at getting the best four teams in. But lately I just feel like they haven't been, and they're playing favorites at this point rather than actually going by their set of rules that they have.
Yeah, I feel that might be the same um, regarding the two top power teams, that being Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. Of course, they're a name brand as well. And yeah, it's always the same old memo. Um, Whatever best for mass media and mass tech. Vegas, they like to see all that.
Yeah, so basically, they have a set of rules in place. So basically, their set of rules is what the college football committee likes is they like head-to-head matchups, which because of COVID this year has changed a little bit because you didn't get non-conference games. They like conference champions, and they look at like who beat who and all that. But it seems like every year it's changed. Especially this year, the top four teams were announced at around 1 o'clock today. Top four teams being undefeated Alabama, one loss Clemson, one loss Notre Dame, and undefeated Ohio State. With number 5 being Texas A&M, who has one bad loss to Alabama, and then number 6 being Oklahoma, which really confused me.
They just wanted to appease Lincoln Riley, honestly.
And the thing with it is three out of those, you know, 3 out of those 6 teams actually won their conference. So, or 4 out of the 6, sorry, won the conference. So Alabama won the SEC, Clemson won the ACC, Ohio State won the Big Ten, and Oklahoma won the Big 12. However, I don't think Ohio State should have even been in the Big Ten championship to begin with. And here's why I say that. So they said that when the season first got canceled for the Big Ten, the commissioners of the Big Ten decided to reinstate the season and said you have to play in at least 6 out of the 8 games to make, you know, the Big Ten championship. So as the season goes on, Ohio State plays, game gets canceled. Then they have another game canceled. I believe it was the Illinois game that was canceled, and then they had the Michigan game canceled. And they also had
Yes.
one other game canceled. I believe it was Maryland.
We could do a quick little look up, but
That that was canceled. So they had 3 games canceled due to COVID. So putting their total games at 5. So they were 5-0 at the end of the season. However, because they were 5-0, the Big Ten decided, hey, we're going to go ahead and allow them to play in the conference championship, even though it's against our rules. Because when Wisconsin was undefeated at the time, when they were 3-0, they had missed 2 weeks due to COVID, and they were about to miss the third. The Big Ten said, sorry, you're not allowed to play in the conference championship. were already out. Even if they would have finished 5-0, they were out. And so the thing that really bothers me, though, is the committee. Ohio State was ranked, top 10 all year, despite not playing until halfway through the season. The one game, after 1 week, they were put into the top 5, and then after that, they were put into the top 3. They didn't play for 2 weeks due to COVID. Yet they didn't get moved down or moved up due to it. They stayed at 4. Cincinnati, on the other hand, who plays in the American Athletic Conference, is a non-Power 5, played 10 games instead of 12, had about 3 or 4 games they had to cancel or reschedule, couldn't play for 3 weeks because of COVID, yet got punished and knocked down from, 5 all the way to 8, simply just for not playing. They got punished for not playing, but Ohio State doesn't play for 2 weeks, doesn't get punished.
Yeah. So I can't think of a word to summarize it. However, I will say, it's clear what's happening, man. It's just they got favorites,
Now,
Ohio State, Clemson, Bama, even Notre Dame. They're a name brand. They bring a mass ratings on the national circuit. That's why,
right.
there's only like a handful of power programs these days who can compete for a national title.
But
Bama, of course.
that is not what the criteria is. The criteria is to find, who's the biggest brand. The criteria of the college football playoff, which is the reason BCS got rid of, is to find the 4 best teams every season to compete for a national championship.
That's what the criteria is supposed to be.
Now, should Ohio State be top 4? Probably. Did their schedule say they should? Absolutely not. But does everybody in their right mind know they're a top 4 team? Absolutely. But to tell me that they should get in only playing 6 games in a conference championship in which they shouldn't even have been in, should get in, over a team like a Cincinnati who played 10 games, then had a conference championship, played more ranked teams than Ohio State, yet they got screwed and got put all the way to 8. They're not even in the top 6. How do you not put a team that went 10-0, a 10-0 conference champion in the top 6?
Hey, that tells you, in order to make the CFB, man, you have to be Power 5.
That defeats the whole purpose of the criteria, though. That's what I'm saying. It defeats the entire purpose of the criteria is to find the 4 best teams. Maybe the 4 best teams lie outside of a Power 5 conference. Yes, I understand this year's a little bit different because of COVID and you can't really compare because Ohio State was supposed to play Oregon. Alabama was supposed to have a decent non-conference schedule. There was teams that were supposed to play each other that didn't get the chance because of COVID, but that still doesn't excuse you from completely going against your agenda in which you were brought in to do.
Quite honestly, A&M and Cincy should have been in it. I mean, Ohio State, yeah, you're champs, but still, Big Ten was crap this year.
Ohio State has a better case than Notre Dame and Texas A&M, and I will explain why. Yes, Texas A&M won, 7 straight SEC games after their blowout loss to Alabama, but they didn't participate in the conference championship. And they didn't play in a conference championship. They didn't even, it was Florida and Alabama. It wasn't even Texas A&M. So I think Ohio State, even though they only played 6 games, have a better case because they were an undefeated conference champion, where Texas A&M wasn't. And Texas A&M, a lot of their games, if you look at their schedule, a lot of their games were against losing teams. Alabama better teams they played on the year, and they got absolutely beat by 30.
All right. Well, if not A&M, then Florida should get in.
Why should Florida have 3 losses? They lost.
Yeah.
They lost to a bad LSU team.
Well, they shot themselves in the foot with that.
They lost
That was their fault.
they lost to that same Texas A&M team that lost to 30 by Alabama. Yeah, they put up a fight and only lost by 6 against Alabama, but they have 3 losses. That automatically disqualifies them. They have 3 losses.
Here's the thing: a loss to Bama shouldn't count because it's Alabama. They're gonna steamroll everybody.
Doesn't matter. Okay, so they have 2 losses to a bad LSU team and to that same Texas A&M team I just said should not be in.
And Notre Dame shouldn't be in too because they got their butts clapped last night.
Now, Notre Dame, although they didn't win a conference championship, which, according to the committee, is one of their biggest stipulations they go off of, they did hand Clemson their only loss of the year in double overtime in the regular season.
Without Trevor.
Well, yes, yes, it was without the best player in college football, but they still beat them. Now we know. Well, we know what Notre Dame is, though. We know Notre Dame are frauds. They showed it yesterday, and they'll show it again against Alabama. We know that.
They're the Dallas Cowboys of college football.
But they have the resume to be in. They beat everybody in front of them. They were undefeated going into yesterday. Their one loss was against the other playoff team. You can't keep Notre Dame out.
All right. Well, does Notre Dame have any notable wins besides beating one-legged Clemson?
North Carolina.
Anyone else?
That's more than Texas A&M has.
Texas A&M beat Florida.
State has. Although you could say that. All right, yeah. So Texas A&M beat Florida. You're right, but Florida, like I just said, has 3 losses.
Yeah, and they came back and they should have tied it last night against Bama.
All right, so here's the rest of the Texas A&M schedule. Vandy, terrible. Got beat 52-24 by Alabama. Beat Florida. Mississippi State, terrible. Arkansas, terrible. South Carolina, terrible. LSU was bad this year. Auburn is bad this year. And Tennessee. That's their schedule.
It was just a bad year for college football.
It was a bad year for the SEC, the so-called greatest conference in college football.
Well, name off all the Big Ten teams. Give them a ranking.
Well, I'm not saying the Big Ten this year is better than the SEC. I'm not saying that.
I'll take SEC over Big Ten this year.
However, if you want to say the Big Ten, Indiana and Northwestern are better than any team outside of Florida and Alabama that Texas A&M played.
Shoot, Georgia.
Texas A&M didn't play Georgia.
They should have.
Well, they didn't, so there's that. So yes, they beat a Mississippi State team. They struggled against Vandy. They won 17-12.
I'm pulling up the box score.
Now, they do play North Carolina in a bowl game, though, so they do get to see if they deserve to be in over Notre Dame, who did play that same North Carolina team.
Yeah. Oh, Bama. Man, it's just a powerhouse again. As far as Big Ten, Ohio State, it was their conference. Like, that's the only reason why Big Ten was back. So Ohio State could get in.
Well, yeah. So, the Big Ten was the first Power 5 conference to say, yeah, we're not playing this year, which was absolutely stupid because everybody else was playing. There was no reason why the Big Ten or the Pac-12 couldn't have had longer seasons than they did.
They shouldn't have brought back the season to begin with. This whole thing was trash.
There was absolutely no reason why any of them couldn't have played an entire season. I get what they have
Shoot.
COVID, but they have COVID protocols in place for things like that to happen. If they would have started when the SEC and everybody else started, they could have rescheduled games. You still could have gotten 8, 9, 10 games played rather than just playing 5.
No, but the point is the product has been awful. There's only been about like 15 teams that have been consistent this year. Everybody else is just like, yeah, we're kind of really checked out. Shouldn't
A
even
lot of
have
that though
beginning.
has to do with COVID. But what I'm saying is teams panic too early instead of just playing the season, putting those COVID protocols into place, and then going from there. Because the SEC, the ACC, and all them, they were going to play no matter what. Because the SEC is all them Southern country, folks. They were going to have a season no matter unless they freaking got hit with like death. They were playing.
Yeah, they still play even if somebody got hit with death.
Exactly. That's my point. Is the SEC was going to play no matter what. I think the Big Ten and the Pac-12 should have just followed the SEC guidelines and the SEC standards, and they could have been able to reschedule games, and you could have had more games play yesterday like the SEC did outside of the SEC championship. Because then, while I don't fully blame the committee this year because of COVID, you could have had more to go off of with those teams. Like the Pac-12 wasn't even considered at all. They haven't been considered since Oregon made it, like the first playoff.
Yeah. So I don't think
And
these matchups are good.
I think that's also the problem with the playoff committees. They only have 4 slots, and there's 5 Power Fives. So that pretty much means the group of 5 automatically gets left out.
Yeah, and they
Because
expanded to 8.
you can only put 4 Power Fives in, and then you consider Notre Dame. They're an independent outside of this year. So then if Notre Dame gets in, that's only 3. So then you have 3 out of the 3 out of the 5 Power Fives. Where does that leave everybody else?
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting the rankings, the last rankings.
They're a bunch of crap.
So yeah,
8. It's a bunch of crap.
Cincy, they're 8. So if they had expanded to 8 teams, they would have been in it, but they would have faced Bama.
They should be higher than 8 is my point.
They should.
They have a much better resume than some of those teams at the top. They have a better resume than Ohio State. Their strength of schedule says 77, but that's not true because they played 3 ranked teams. Ohio State played 2. So how Ohio State's strength of schedule is better than Cincinnati's makes absolutely no sense to me.
Ugh.
They have a better case than Notre Dame in the fact that they are a undefeated conference champion. Notre Dame got absolutely blown out in the championship. Yes, Notre Dame was undefeated beforehand, but they're not right now. Cincinnati has a better case than Notre Dame as well. Because Notre Dame, they've made the playoffs before against Alabama. The same 4 teams have made it. We've seen what happened last time. Alabama won that game by 40 points, went on to lose the Clemson National Championship. We've seen this before.
Hey, man. It's nepotism. They got favorites.
What's the rest of the top 10? I know 5, 6, and 8. What's 7, 9, 10?
There's 6. 7 is Florida.
7 is Florida?
7 is Florida, 8
So
Cincy,
Florida,
9 Georgia, and 10 Iowa State.
so Florida jumped for losing.
Because they're Florida.
But they shouldn't be ahead of Cincinnati for losing.
Again, they're a Power 5. And they
Yeah.
lost to Bama.
That's my point, though, is why are the Power Fives ranked ahead of the Group of Fives? It doesn't matter. Yeah, there's better players that are in the group of or the Power Fives, but there's lots of great players that slip through the cracks.
Well, look, it's clear they have favorites.
Group of 5 teams, and these group of five teams deserve a chance too. If I was the group of five, if I was the MAC, the AAC, the Sun Belt, the WAC, or whatever it's called now, if I was all those, I'd make my own playoff.
Yeah, but here's the thing: who's gonna watch it?
College football fans,
Anyone who
you're gonna tell
doesn't
me
want to
that
see.
you're gonna tell me that a Coastal Carolina Cincinnati matchup would not have people tuning in?
Correct.
You're wrong. People would love to see Cincinnati versus Coastal Carolina, and then like a BYU and like a Navy on the other side.
Yeah,
Probably be Army,
people in
but people would watch that. Or
people who went to school there
no,
or lived near the area.
that's not necessarily true. College football, yeah, not as many people watch as the NFL, but there's a lot of eyes on college football.
Yeah, a bunch of old people love drooling over 18-year-olds because they can throw a football better. I mean,
You're
they.
missing you're missing the point here.
What's the point?
The point is that the group of five should either deserve better recognition or they should go on their own and have their own national championship to stick it to the playoff committee.
But that's the thing. People tune into powerhouse name brands.
Sure, they
Oh,
do.
if they're on at the same time, like Bama versus Clemson national title, or Cincy versus Coastal Carolina for the Group 5 national championship, you already know who they're tuning into. They're going to tune into the best.
People would watch Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, than Alabama, Notre Dame, because we've seen it. Notre Dame opens up as a 28-point underdog. Nobody's going to watch that. Everybody knows what's going to happen. I guarantee you more people would watch Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina than Alabama, Notre Dame.
It's all about the fan base.
Yes, I know. I'm saying college football fans would rather tune into a game that's going to be close than to a game that they already know the results to.
But again, you got to show up to play. Say Notre Dame actually upsets Alabama. They just outsmart them.
It's not going to happen. Everybody and their mama knows that. It's not happening.
Everybody who does not reside out of Tuscaloosa.
Alabama fans know they're winning. Non-Alabama fans know they're winning. Which we will get to college football predictions in just a little bit, but right now we're talking about how flawed the college football playoff committee system is and how they favor big teams. And that's the perfect example of Florida being at 7 and Cincinnati being at 8. That is the absolute perfect example. Yes,
Yeah.
Florida lost to the number 1 team, the number 5 team. So yes, okay, those 2 losses, they're good losses. There's no excuse for them to lose to a bad LSU team.
Well, when they shot themselves in the foot with those personal fouls.
Oh yes, but there's no excuse. You cannot lose to a bad LSU team and be ranked above at an 11-0 conference champion. That's not how it's supposed to work. This reminds me of the year Western went 12-0 in the MAC. Yes, it's the MAC, but they went 12-0. Why are they not being respected? The older Boise State teams, they deserved a chance too, but they at least made like the Fiesta Bowl and whatnot. They were at least, at least with the BCS, they were somewhat considered. The play is punishing Cincinnati for not playing for 3 weeks because of COVID, but Ohio State stays in the top 4 for 2 weeks for not playing. Like, make it make sense.
No, they ain't punishing them because they didn't play for 3 weeks. They're punishing them because they're Cincy.
No, they're punishing them because they didn't play for 3 weeks, but they kept Ohio State at 4 for not playing for 2 weeks. That's exactly what happened because I was watching the Cincinnati Conference Championship yesterday, and that's exactly what the announcers were saying. They punished Cincinnati, but they didn't punish Ohio State.
All I can say is they just need to expand it.
Cincinnati from 5 to 8 because they didn't play. They moved Texas A&M and Iowa State above them for simply not playing, but they kept Ohio State at 4. Ohio State had played 3 games at that point.
Hey, all I care about is seeing Clemson hopefully dropping a hundo on them. National TV, they shut them out.
Well, yes, I mean, like I said, they'll get to that, but you know, the system is there's no absolute way if you have a system in place and you're going by these specific rules that any of this makes sense. And you know, like I said, I understand it's COVID and it's a COVID year, so you know things got messed up and all over the place. But that still doesn't mean you go away from your formula. Notre Dame shouldn't,
Hey,
Texas A&M shouldn't be in. Cincinnati should be much higher than 8. Oklahoma at least has the case because they're a conference champion, but they have 2 losses. Florida has no case. I'm sorry, who'd you say was 9?
9 was. I just had it. 9 was Georgia.
They have no case. And then 10 was.
Iowa State.
They also have no case because they lost the Big 12 championship. So Iowa State, now if Iowa State had won yesterday, if they had not choked it away against Oklahoma, you could very easily put them in the conversation. Despite having 2 losses, you could put them in the conversation over Notre Dame or an Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Because their body of work, yeah, they have a very bad non-conference loss, which, you know, I'm saying if Florida has a bad loss, then Iowa State also had a very bad loss. But the Big 12, I think, was actually the best conference this year, hands down.
Yeah.
As crazy
Just
as it is, because everybody always says the Big 12 doesn't play defense. The Big 12 doesn't. The Big 12 had the best conference this year.
yeah, but I was shocked by Northwestern. They were putting up a fight.
Yes. And Northwestern should have been undefeated. That loss to Michigan State was terrible. Bad. That was a bad loss to a very bad Michigan State team.
A horrendous Michigan State team.
That Michigan State team was bad. Michigan was no better.
Oh yeah, this all football teams in Michigan suck. Let's just
So
say that.
Central only lost 2 games. They were not that bad. Western also only lost 2 games. Eastern was bad.
I'm talking
But
about the ones that I watch.
anyways, back to the topic. So yeah, Iowa State had a case had they won the Big 12, but they don't. So they don't have a case. Nobody in that 5 to 10 range has a better case than Cincinnati. Even putting Cincinnati at 5, I would have been okay with that. I think they should have gotten in over a Notre Dame or an Ohio State, but putting them at 5 would at least made sense. Putting them at 8 after winning a conference championship and going 11-0 makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, I'm just reading some of these tweets from Cincinnati. Oh yeah, I mean people are pissed. But good news is,
Here's another good example of why the playoff system is rigged. The year UCF went 12-0. They should have been number 4 in the playoffs. They beat, that Auburn team that had beat Alabama that year that got into the playoffs. Why did Alabama get in over UCF? They
because
weren't.
Alabama's Alabama.
They weren't a conference champion that year. I don't even think, if I remember correctly, I don't even think they made the SEC. Maybe that was the year it was Georgia Alabama.
It was Georgia Bama.
But still, they didn't win their conference. UCF went 12-0.
Let me see. I'm going back. Yeah, that was
Alabama
2017.
didn't, or even if they did, the other SEC team got in. I know there's somebody that got in over UCF that shouldn't have gotten in. And that was
What year was this?
2017, I believe.
Oh no, I think you're talking about now you're talking about 2018.
2017.
That's when they went 12-0.
Yes. When UCF went 12-0.
That was another 12.
What was the?
Yeah, it was Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
They were 12-1.
Who was the 4 teams in the playoffs that year?
2018, it was Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma.
Oklahoma had the 1 loss, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So why UCF shouldn't have been in? I believe Alabama had a loss too, or were they undefeated?
2018, I believe that they were.
Because I believe they lost to Auburn that year.
No, they were undefeated that year.
They were
It was
undefeated.
2017.
Must have been the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So why they didn't get in over Oklahoma just shows how flawed the system is. Because they were 12-0, they ended up beating a really, really good Auburn team that year.
No, man, it just shows favoritism.
Well, it shows that the system's more flawed than the BCS is. Because the BCS was flawed towards the bigger teams, but it was computerized and, they punched numbers in on the computer.
It's not the system, it's the people writing the code for the system. It's the people who are picking the actual teams to go in.
That's what I'm saying. The BCS at least, used a computer and it made more sense than the playoff committee. The playoff committee doesn't make any sense. They establish a set of rules and guidelines and then they don't follow them. Every year to year they change up their guidelines. And then us fans get confused. We want it to make sense.
Well, here's the thing with the BCS. It'd be the top 2 teams every year. You want to see Bama and Clemson go at it for the 6th year if we still had it?
This is what happens now.
Yeah, but you just get 2 extra teams.
Yes, but there's no reason you couldn't have expanded to 4 teams and still use the BCS system.
It's all about revenue. They just want more. They see the playoffs as a way to just generate more TV ratings.
That defeats the purpose of the committee is what I'm saying. The committee is there to find the 4 best teams in college, not who generates the most money.
Fortunately, everything is about money.
When this first started in 2017, I believe it is, or 16, whatever. The committee said, we are trying to find the 4 best teams every year in college football.
Yeah, 2014, that's when they started.
Okay, yes. They said, we are trying to find the 4 best teams in college football. They said they care about conference championships. They care about head-to-head matchups. They care about, strength of schedule and whatnot. They care about all that stuff. But then you don't give those who go undefeated and win their conference a chance. You would rather put a 2-loss SEC team or a 3-loss, Big Ten team in.
Yeah.
Ohio State got in, but didn't even win their conference. Penn State did. And you put Ohio State in over Penn State? Like, that didn't make sense.
Yeah, 2016.
Ohio State didn't even make it. It was Penn State and Wisconsin, I believe. And Penn State won the Big Ten.
Yep.
And you didn't even put them in. You put Ohio State in.
Just 16. That was the last time Michigan State was in the first 2 out.
I proposed an 18 playoff system. In the 18 playoff system, it'd still be a little, biased because it's always going to be, but at least it's not as flawed because the system is always going to be flawed no matter what. But with an 18 playoff, there's 5 Power 5 conferences, So conference champions, there's your 1 through 5 right there. Or, whatever. There's your 5 guaranteed spots. That way, all Power 5s make it. The Pac-12 or whoever, or Pac-12 or Big 12 can't complain that they didn't get in that year. Big 10 can't, screw somebody outside of Ohio State in it, in the playoffs. That 6th spot or, whatever, 6, 5, 4, whatever, can go to the best group of 5. So like they do now, how the best group of 5 gets a New York 6 Bowl. The best group of 5, a.k.a. a Cincinnati or a Coastal Carolina, automatically gets into the playoff. And then those last two spots, that's where you have the debate, because then those are the, like the wild cards. What do you think of, a system like that?
There's a problem. Actually, believe it or not, I just got like a little notification. Oh, I got a little notification from ESPN saying that college football playoff just disappointed. So yeah, you're touching on something. Problem is just that, even if we expand to 8 teams,
You
they
have
would
to
still try and
you have to do it the five. You have to do it with the power fives, and then the best group of five. That's the only way it'll work, and it'll be less flawed than it is now.
but here's the problem. They'll try and find a way to get more group power 5 teams to go in. Like
Well, that's what
say
wild cards are for. That's what I'm saying. But at least give the group of five a chance. There's no reason an 11-0 Cincinnati shouldn't have a chance at a national championship. A 12-0 UCF should not have a chance at a national championship. A 12-0 Western shouldn't have a chance at a chance. That makes no sense. Why are you punishing guys for going to a littler school?
yeah, here's the thing. Hold on. Listen to this headline. College Football Playoff 2020. The committee remains disappointingly predictable.
Exactly.
Now,
Absolutely 100%.
hold on. I'm looking. I was looking. I saw a little point right here. All right. Now listen to this little paragraph. This was written by. I'll get their name later. There is no respect and never has been. Look at how the committee treated undefeated UCF in 2017. The Knights, the only undefeated team that year, finished 12th in the final rankings behind 5 2-loss teams and 1 3-loss team. It's no wonder they declared themselves national champions. There was no way the power structure would let them prove it legitimately. The following year, after another undefeated regular season run, UCF was ranked 8th, but only behind 2 2-loss teams that time, end quote. And that was written
You say
by
any more on the topic of the group of five other than that that you just read right there?
Andrea Adelson of ESPN, senior writer.
Whoever wrote it doesn't matter. They're 100% spot on. Why are we punishing the littler schools because they're a little school? If you are undefeated, it doesn't matter what conference you play in, whether you play in the SEC or you play in the MAC. 12-0 is 12-0. 10-0 is 10-0. Undefeated is undefeated. You went an entire season playing non-conference games and you finished undefeated. That in itself should be rewarded. You're going to tell me those years that Boise State was undefeated, beating teams like Oregon and stuff, they didn't deserve a chance? Oregon was good back then. Boise State didn't get a chance in the BCS, so they're like, all right, we're going to do this playoff committee to fix that so that these littler schools have a chance. That hasn't been the case. As you said, UCF finished 12th and 8th after going 24-0.
The only reason why Oregon's relevant is because of Phil Knight. But the point is, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If they think anybody's like really going to watch the college football playoffs, I mean, I'm not going to watch it because I was like, yeah, I'm pissed that even Ohio State got in. I told myself if Ohio State gets in, I ain't watching it.
But at least they have more of an argument than some other teams to be in. Because they're an undefeated, yeah, they only play 5 games, but they're an undefeated conference champion.
Yeah, they beat a bunch of crappy teams.
They beat a good Indiana team, and they beat Northwestern.
Indiana, yeah, they were good, but when their quarterback Penix got hurt, that's it. There goes your season. Northwestern, yeah, they got a great defense, and they shot themselves in the foot with all those turnovers.
Yes, now, I don't think Ohio State should be there either, but, at least they have a case. Texas A&M doesn't have a case.
Yeah.
Florida, 3 losses, that's not a case. Iowa State, 3 losses, that's not a case.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma had more of a case than Texas A&M.
That's because Oklahoma's Oklahoma.
No, because Oklahoma's a conference champion.
Well, what about North Carolina? I think they had a chance.
They didn't even make the ACC title game.
Hey, they're still one of the best
Miami,
teams in the country.
Miami didn't make the ACC championship.
Oh, Miami just sucks. Hold
Well,
on, and let me.
they didn't make the conference. North Carolina didn't make the conference championship. You let Notre Dame join on a 1 year, come in and run your conference.
I'm surprised by this. I'm surprised that BYU is ranked 16.
BYU, I've said this even before the playoff, BYU was disrespected the entire year.
Well, they had a chance to prove themselves to face Washington, but they said, "Nah, we're okay."
No, so if you look at their non-conference before COVID, they were supposed to play Oklahoma, they were supposed to play MSU, they were supposed to play some other teams, but all those games got canceled. So they had to figure out other games to play. So it wasn't necessarily their fault.
Let's see. They were supposed to play Army. That got postponed.
Yep, they didn't play Army. Army's very good this year.
Really, the only good team they beat was Boise State.
Boise State's not that good, but it's also not BYU's fault. BYU was constantly disrespected, even more so than Cincinnati was this year. And it's simply aren't a Power 5 school. That's the only reason.
Well, they're facing UCF in the Boca Raton Bowl in Florida. Yeah. Well, overall, I'm really disappointed with this college football season.
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily disappointed with the season, more so as I'm more disappointed in the committee's, as the article said, predictability.
Yeah, I was hoping I hope A&M or Cincy gets a shot, but I was like, at the same time, I already know who's getting in.
Even if you put Cincinnati at 7, they're going to go up against Clemson or Alabama, but at least you're giving them a shot, and rewarding them for going undefeated.
Exactly.
Because UCF going 24-0, you know how hard it is to do to not only go undefeated once, but twice in 2 years?
Do you know how hard it is just to win a game in college football?
Yeah, that's my point. Not only 12-0 1 year, they did it the next year. They went 12-0.
Yeah. I mean, UCF should have been in.
And
All right, let's give them a shot. See how they do.
By giving them rankings of 14-8.
Even if they had lost to, say, Bama, but it was close by 17 or 10 points, I'd be like, all right, that was impressive.
Because it would have been close, because I believe 2018 or whatever, they beat the Auburn team that, beat Alabama, or they beat the Auburn team that competed with Alabama.
That was 2018. They lost to LSU in the Peach Bowl. 2017 is when they beat Auburn. Yeah.
Yes. So they beat Auburn, but that Auburn team played Alabama tough.
Oh, yeah, they kicked their butt.
Yeah, beat that Auburn team. You're going to tell me that they shouldn't have gotten at least a shot at Alabama? Cincinnati, yeah, they got absolutely blown out by Ohio State, but that was last year. This year's completely different,
I think if you put them on the same field, Cincy might be in by 3.
Ohio State looked awful against Northwestern.
Oh, God, they were trash.
Justin Fields legitimately played his worst game of his college career yesterday.
Did you see that? Did you see that expression on Justin Fields' face when he looked over to I think it was Sermon, because he had dropped the pass or something, and he gave him a wide-eyed look. I was like, oh, he was about to choke him out.
What are you complaining for? Sermon carried them to a Big Ten championship. Literally carried them on his back. The man set the record for the most rushing yards in a Big Ten Conference Championship history.
This was the first half of the game.
And Justin Fields is going to get mad at Trey Sermon.
Oh, but let me take a look. Who was it?
Now, I understand Ohio State was missing 20-something players. They didn't have Chris Olave, who's their top target. They didn't have a couple of other guys. But there's no excuse that Ohio State's five-star second stringers should even be competing with Northwestern. They should have absolutely blown them out yesterday.
I think it was either Wilson or Williams who he gave a look to. He looked like he was about ready to choke one of them out.
Still, Ohio State's backups should absolutely blow Northwestern out of the water. No question. Ohio State gets 4 and 5-star guys every single year. Northwestern does not. There's no excuse for Ohio State to not blow Northwestern out like 45-3 yesterday. Absolutely no excuse.
They were playing like they already won.
Well, and one of the Ohio State corners, Sean Wade, was basically saying before the game, yeah, we have to show that we belong. We have to blow them out. Right there, you knew that wasn't going to happen because you said we have to blow them out. No, you go out there and you play the football game. You try to blow them out. You don't say, yeah, we have to blow them out. Because then that's a recipe for disaster, and yesterday it proved it.
Agreed.
But anyways, they need to find a way to fix the system. I don't know if they have to write a rule book on the rules that they look at or what, but they need a set of guidelines, and they need to stop changing them. They need to follow the guidelines and give, actual undefeated conference champions a chance. Because like you said, when UCF was 12-0, they were outranked by two loss teams and a 3-loss team. In what world does that make sense that an undefeated is ranked less than a 3-loss team?
Only when
you have
they're not in the Power 5.
Yeah, because even this year's a perfect example. Florida's 7 and Cincinnati is 8. But Florida has 3 losses. Cincinnati doesn't have 1.
This was a trash year.
Now, college football this year was a little bit, disappointing in terms of, just overall production. But COVID did really affect that, as a lot of teams didn't get spring practices. A lot of teams didn't know if they were playing or not. Even on a week-to-week basis, most teams were like, are we playing this week? Are we not playing this week?
Right.
And so it was like, a lot of it was just, just the uncertainty around the college football this year really made it, different. And it really, as you said, it really brought the quality of the product down this year. But there's still no excuse for what they did. Them being
there's
absolutely no excuse for what they did.
Zero excuse.
I don't care if it's a pandemic year. I don't care if half the teams got nuked. There's absolutely no excuse for putting a undefeated conference champion under a 3-loss Florida, a 2-loss Oklahoma. Yes, they're a conference champion, but they're still 2 losses. A 1-loss A&M, who lost to, the number 1 team, so, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time it doesn't because they didn't even make the conference championship. You can't stress how important conference championships are and then not reward conference champions.
Yeah, but Twitter, definitely fun.
I was going to say we could do college football playoff predictions next, but we both know it's going to be Clemson, Alabama.
It's going to be Clemson, Bama.
Part 5. Obviously, I think Trevor Lawrence, being the best player in college football, will find a way to beat Alabama.
Yeah.
Because
so I want to do both.
You could see from playing Notre Dame the first time when they weren't fully healthy to playing Notre Dame the second time when they were fully healthy, you could tell that Clemson is clearly the best team in the country. And yeah, you can say Alabama's undefeated, but Alabama also didn't have the COVID issues that, Clemson had. Because if Clemson would have played Notre Dame the first time, I think yesterday would have been the same results as the first time. They would have absolutely just wiped the floor with Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, but
I will say
we'll see.
I will say I'm not surprised that the committee swapped Ohio State and Notre Dame though, because they didn't want to see Notre Dame Clemson a third time. But they should have. They both got 1-1. You know, neither team got the upper hand on the other one.
All right, Clemson, Ohio State, Part 3. Fine with that.
Yes, but it should have been Alabama, Ohio State, and then Clemson, Notre Dame. I understand why they didn't do it, but at the same time, it's like it's a chess match. It's 1-1. Let them battle it out a third time, see who's the better team in college football.
They should have.
And then have Ohio State and Alabama Part 2, so Ohio State can beat Alabama, and then we can meet Clemson, Ohio State, and then Clemson win the national championship with ease.
Not beat them, destroy them.
I said with ease, so same thing. But yeah, I don't know what they have to do to put into place a fair system, but until they figure it out, if honestly, like I said, if I'm the group of 5, I'm making my own playoff.
If I'm the group of 5, I just wouldn't go to any bowl games.
I mean, you could shove it that way too. No, we're not playing in a bowl game until we're a part of the playoffs.
There are quite a few teams in Group 5. No, I mean Power 5. They've opted out like today. Michigan State announced they're opting out of the bowl game.
Michigan State opted out of the season.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mark D'Antonio, to that.
Michigan State shouldn't even have made a bowl game to begin with. Neither should have Michigan. Most of those teams in the Big Ten shouldn't even make a bowl game.
Okay. Again, name brands, dude. That's all it's about. Like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, so like I said, they need to find something to put into place. They need to have a set of rules, make a rule book, give a copy to people so people understand it. Because right now, nobody understands the philosophy that they use. And when a guy like Reese Davis or Chris Fowler try to talk to the playoff committee to get an answer, oh, well, we have a certain criteria we follow. Well, if you have a certain criteria you follow, shouldn't you want to tell the fans what it is so that the fans understand?
Yeah, it's who they bend over more for.
This is what I think the philosophy is right now. All right, Clemson, Alabama, you guys can lose 6 games, you'll still be in. Ohio State, you can go 0-12, we'll still put you in there. Yeah, we're pretty much teams are battling for one spot right now.
Basically.
They're battling for the 4 spot because Alabama's always going to be in. Outside of last year when LSU made it because LSU deserved to make it. Clemson is going to run the ACC for at least the next 20 years. Because Dabo's not going away anytime soon. So they run the ACC. Ohio State's going to run the Big Ten for a while. But even if they don't, they're still going to get put in. Because the committee has shown that in the past that Ohio State doesn't need to win the conference or need to even run the Big Ten to be put in. And so basically you have Notre Dame, Oklahoma, possibly a group of 5, Texas A&M, those guys all fighting for a 4 spot. And that's not how it should be. You shouldn't be rewarding teams based off their names. And
Yet they do.
And that is all the committee has shown since their creation that they do. They reward teams based on their name. You're going to tell me they would love to see a team like Texas or Florida State back in it any chance they got?
No.
That's why Texas is always ranked, because everybody wants to see Texas succeed. Everybody wants to see Florida State succeed, but Florida State is awful.
I want to see Florida State succeed.
I don't. The criminals can rot for all I care.
Oh, my goodness.
Criminals,
Hey.
freaking the Gators, I don't like them either. But that's a different topic for a different day. So, like I said, they need to find like a rule book or something. I don't know what you propose they do to, give teams a shot, but they're definitely not picking the 4 best teams in college football.
They need to expand the team. They need to expand the playoffs. And you can't lose no more than 2 games.
Okay, but even like you said, expanding the playoffs, they're still going to be biased in the sense of they're still going to put the bigger schools in.
Yeah, they'll find a way to put them in.
As you said, with 2 losses, they would put a 2-loss Texas A&M team over an undefeated Cincinnati, and they showed that with the rankings that they would put a 3-loss Florida in before they put an undefeated Cincinnati in.
Correct.
That's the problem. So even if you say 2 losses minimum, they'd still put a 2-loss SEC team over an undefeated AAC or undefeated MAC or an undefeated Sun Belt team.
All right, you got to win your conference regardless.
I mean, I basically proposed that you got to win your conference. Okay, that's you expand it to 8. That's only 5 slots.
5 slots and then what?
So
3
they're not going to put a
groups?
Group of 5 conference champion in right away. They'll put the power
No, they won't.
in. As I said, that's 5 slots because you got the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, the Pac-12, and the whatever other conference.
Yeah, it's pointless at this point.
It's like, at this point, I would rather have the BCS back because at least the computerized system was better. Yeah, it was only for 2 teams, and people were fighting for number 1 or number 2, but, David Pollock mentioned this on game day. And I believe Kirk Herbstreit did too. When the BCS was in place, every game felt like it mattered. Because there was only 2 spots. So every game, just felt like it mattered because you wanted to be one of the top 2 teams in the country. Now, because the system's so flawed, you can lose a game and be like, all right, we still have a chance at the playoffs. You could lose 2 games and be like, maybe the committee will put us in. Just, it might possibly happen.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say. I'm disappointed.
I mean, why, though? I mean, you can say you're disappointed and there's a reason why.
Oh, I'm just disappointed about the whole football season. It wasn't really, product wasn't well.
I mean, I'll agree. It didn't feel like a football season, that's for sure. It kind of felt more of like scrimmages and whatnot, but we managed to get through it somehow with all the COVID protocols and whatnot. The NFL is doing a great job as far as that goes as well. So props to them. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. This just needed to be said. Just some college football talk because it's kind of ridiculous.
Anthony just needed to rant for a second.
As college football season's coming to an end, so why not do, an end of the year type thing? Before we're out of here, though, real quick, who wins the Heisman and why? I should say, who do you think deserves the Heisman, not who's going to win it?
Who deserves it? Quite honestly, I don't care. I don't care who takes it. I think Mac
Lawrence,
Jones might get it.
I think Trevor Lawrence should win it, but I think Mac Jones will win. But I think Trevor Lawrence should.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
But yes, I think Trevor Lawrence should win the Heisman. The point of the Heisman is to give it to the best player in college football. If somebody can tell me a better player in college football right now than Trevor Lawrence, I'll give you $100.
Ian Book.
Watch this video if somebody can tell me a better player in college football right now than Trevor Lawrence.
Ian Book.
And how exactly did Ian Book do yesterday?
I just said that to piss you off.
Anybody who says Justin Fields, please watch yesterday's game and tell me how Justin Fields is anywhere near Trevor Lawrence's level, or check last year's playoff.
Yeah, it's really just a coin flip.
Not good either.
Kyle Trask is garbage.
At least somebody agrees with me. I don't think Kyle Trask is all that. I don't think Mac Jones is all that either. He's literally just the only good, talented Alabama quarterback I've seen is Tua Tagovailoa. The rest of them, I'm just like, yep, typical Alabama quarterback.
What about Jalen Hurts? He's starting today.
Typical Alabama quarterback. He was just part of the system. And
Blasphemy.
Philly's only starting Jalen Hurts because they think Carson Wentz is the problem. But Carson Wentz isn't the problem. And yes, I said Carson Wentz is not the problem.
Carson Wentz is the problem. Nick Foles is way better than he was.
The man Carson Wentz right now he's on his 30th offensive lineman, and he's literally throwing to guys that are as talented as me and you.
And
How do you expect him to succeed in a system where he's on his 30th offensive lineman?
Matthew Stafford's on like his 50th GM head coach.
Matthew Stafford then.
Matthew Stafford is garbage.
I'm about to end this call right now. This has been the
All right.
Thanks for watching.